Namaste, my friends. Welcome to our spring equinox full moon seminar on Ayurvedic cleansing. So let's just take a moment to ground in, to come into the space together. So go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a moment to root into your breath. And place your hands at your heart center. We'll just chant Om together. So exhale out completely. Inhale deeply to begin. Om. So welcome, friends, from Soulshine, from Bliss Tribe, from At One Yoga, from near and far. Welcome to those friends who will be watching the replay of this seminar. And I'm Justine Lemos, for those of you who don't know me. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, as well as holding a doctoral degree with my research focusing in South Asia. And today I'd like to share with you some secrets for springtime cleansing. So today is a very special day. It is Ostara, the quickening time. And at the spring equinox, we can feel the anticipation of the light growing within us. And just as the sap rises in the trees, so we begin again. And it's a time of renewal and the mystery of rebirth. Persephone comes out of the dark realms and into the light. And so light and dark are equal at this time. And so right now we're at this precipice of coming into the light, the awakening of the land. And because we're coming into this awakening, this full moon, this spring equinox, it is also Holi in India, the spring festival of colors, that it makes it this time of year perfect for doing some gentle cleansing. And why this is because throughout the winter and all year round, toxins really tend to accumulate. And this is due to improper digestion, due to high levels of stress, and then also chemicals everywhere, throughout the rhizome. And so you can think of your body like nature. And in winter, all the snow freezes. And you can think of the snow freezing behind a dam and all accumulated. This is all the toxins that we've accumulated throughout the year. And then in springtime, the weather starts to get warmer and that snow begins to melt. And with that snow melting, those toxins beginning to dissipate, they're going to flood the entire body. So this is why springtime, just as things start to melt in March and into April, is a very important time for cleansing. Now, according to Ayurveda, the science of life, toxic buildup can manifest eventually as health disorders. And so it's very important to clean, especially during spring. And this is when the rains begin to evaporate from the earth and impurities in the body start to liquefy. And so they flood the microcirculatory channels, or what we call the shrotas, that carry nutrients to the cells and waste away from the cells. And when these channels get clogged, it can leave you feeling tired or sluggish or toxic. You can start to get toxic buildup around the eyes, in the sinuses, in the lymphatic system, throughout the body. And so gentle Ayurvedic cleansing can be very important at this time of year. It allows us to feel fresh and energetic again. And so springtime is one of the important Ayurvedic times to undergo gentle cleansing. Also the fall, but spring is very important. And throughout this process, we want to decrease metabolic waste and toxins. We want to increase our life vibrancy, our ojas. And really, we want to come into meditation, into increasing the bitter taste, into a hot water routine to stimulate digestion. And then also in spring, it's very important to do nasya oil, or nasal application of oils. So let me talk about nasya oil and why it's so important for spring. And please, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll try to answer them as we go on and through the materials. So nasya literally means nose, and really any nasal application of a substance is nasya. So anything that you put up your nose is nasya, but in Ayurveda, one important therapy that we use, especially in the springtime, is nasya oil, or oil as nasya. And there are many different types of nasya oil, herbalized oils, oils that have specific effects, but really we can just use sesame or another nasya oil. And really, nasya is good for anything that is going wrong above the clavicle. So allergies, sinus infections, clogged glands, difficulties of the eyes, anything above the clavicle is treated with nasya oil. It prevents and treats diseases of the ear, nose, throat, and head. Also symptoms of hair loss, graying, balding, we often give nasya oil. It really sharpens all of our sense organs, which can start to get sluggish in the spring. And it's useful in mental and emotional conditions. So for people who are having a lot of anxiety, we'll often give nasya as a therapy. So it's also good for headaches, stiffness in the neck, shoulders, jaw, diseases of the shoulders, lockjaw, all of these things, and also in springtime. Throughout the springtime, nasya is a wonderful therapy. Now, to apply nasya, we massage the lining of the nose with sesame oil, and this also balances and soothes the nervous system, what we call vata dosha in Ayurveda. So you just put oil in the hand and then dip the finger into the oil and massage up into the nostril as far as you can go. And you can also take a dropper and place the drops of oil into the nasal passages and snort it up the nasal passages. And don't do it right before bed because it will drip down the back of the throat and be uncomfortable. But I do recommend that people, especially if you have seasonal allergies, sinus infections, clogged sinuses, the application of a nasya oil several times during the day throughout the spring is very therapeutic. Now, springtime is a kapha season. This means that it is a season full of earth and water. And if you live in the coastal climate, you'll also get wind. So things are changing and moving. But kapha is that which grows. So in springtime, the flowers are growing up out of the earth and everything is blossoming. And so everything also in the body is growing. This is why we tend to get, or people tend to get, colds in the springtime, coughs, nasal passage, congestion, phlegm, and mucus, because the season is a kapha season. And so throughout the spring, it is important to reduce kapha dosha. Now, if you have another imbalance, you'll want to take care of that imbalance while also attending a bit to the kapha dosha energy of the spring by doing something like nasya oil. Now, it's also nice to do a 1-week springtime dietary cleanse or even a 4-week cleanse. If you want to do a springtime 1-week cleanse, you just take a very simple diet during the week. Breakfast can be something like stewed apples to help the movement of the bowels. You can take a green juice with ginger in it, made from kale and greens and chards mid-morning. You can also use carrot, beet, celery, cilantro, radish. Take just 1 8-ounce green juice a day, and this will really help to begin to eliminate metabolic waste and toxins. We can look to nature for all the inspiration that we need for our body and for our health. And so what is nature? What are the colors of nature right now? Green and yellow. Yellow starts to really come out in the springtime as all the gorses blossom and the daffodils blossom and the dandelions begin to make their way up through the cement. And so this is telling us that we need to incorporate and increase green and yellow in our diet. And so increasing a green juice and increasing herbs like turmeric, dandelion, and nettle are all indicated in the spring. Now, if you have another imbalance that is driving like a lot of dryness in the digestive tract, then maybe turmeric isn't as like if you have an ulcer, turmeric isn't as appropriate for you. However, increasing a bit of turmeric, dandelion, nettle, other green and yellow flavors and substances is very useful throughout the spring. A question is there a brand I suggest of nasya oil? Banyan Botanicals makes a nice nasya oil. So does Pavani Ayurveda. They make a really nice nasya oil. And then you can just use sesame oil. It's very effective. You don't necessarily need another type of oil. So throughout the spring, increasing the green color in the diet, increasing the yellow color in the diet. And if we're taking a 1-week springtime dietary cleanse, and I'll send you a PDF of this, you really want to keep lunch and dinner very simple. A simple grain or legume like rice or quinoa, lentils, cooked vegetables, or khichdi. Khichdi is a wonderful Ayurvedic meal unto itself. It's made of split mung dal and rice cooked together with vegetables, and this cleans and soothes the digestive tract. So khichdi, a 1-week khichdi fast or 7 days or 3 days of khichdi can really reset the body in the springtime. Important if you're doing a 1-week cleanse is no sugar, no caffeine, no refined flours. You can eat a small amount of fresh yogurt with your lunch and dinner, but you're making sure that lunch and dinner are warm, and throughout the day you're drinking a liter of warm water each day. So during these winter months, we eat, and keep coming with questions if you have them about doing a 1-week simple dietary cleanse or any other questions that you might have. So during the winter months, we all eat heavier foods to store more fat because of the cold and the wet. And so this can lead to buildup of digestive impurities. And our first step is to loosen these toxins by eating a lighter detoxifying diet. And this really helps the digestive system clear away toxins that can weigh you down. So naturally, the spring harvest is the smallest harvest of the year. And you know that people in early human times, people who are hunter and gatherers, or people who are even harvesting crops, the springtime was the time of starvation because there's not much yet to eat. The baby animals are too small to harvest. There's often taboos against killing nursing mothers. And there's not much game, and there's not much to forage, and the crops haven't grown yet. And so quite naturally, the spring harvest is the smallest harvest of the year. You might get some dandelion shoots or some sour grass, but green shoots are just coming out of the ground. And these green, bitter foods are a wonderful way to counteract the accumulation of kapha dosha in the springtime. And so while Ayurveda encourages the use of all 6 tastes, those are sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. Astringent is the dry taste, is the taste that makes your mouth pucker like pomegranate juice. But really, in the springtime, the bitter flavor is favored, a bit of the bitter flavor. And this is because the bitter taste is catabolic and drying. It really clears congestion and reduces mucus. Also, the bitter taste helps our intestinal flora. And so dandelion herb tea is one of the favorite go-tos for the springtime. It is a very bitter taste, as well as nettle infusions. It can really help with the springtime accumulation of mucus and congestion. Also, spicy kapha teas can be very good to stimulate the digestion, things like clove and turmeric. So favoring easy to digest grains and vegetables and fruits is very important at this time of year. Fruits can include cooked prunes, figs, apples, pears, pineapples, and papayas. And detoxifying cooked vegetables include leafy greens, Brussels sprouts, and then vegetables like cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower, which all help to detoxify and remove ama from the system. For grains, fresh flatbreads like chapati or quinoa, barley, amaranth, rice, and rice water is very important at this time of year. Khichdi is really yummy and really good. I believe in my Thrive video or Thrive series of videos that you can get for free for a while via Amazon. There's a whole tutorial on cooking khichdi and eating khichdi. It's very delicious. So during the spring, because spring is so moist and wet and heavy, we can season our food with detoxifying spices like turmeric, cumin, coriander, fennel, black pepper, and fresh ginger. And this really helps to heat up the body a bit to move out that metabolic waste and ama, which tends to accumulate. Throughout the spring, and really at all times, we really want to avoid canned, frozen, packaged, and processed foods as they're just really difficult to digest and contribute to toxic buildup. Also, staying away from heavy foods like red meat, leftovers, fried foods, oily foods, yeasted breads, sugary desserts, crackers, dairy products that are heavy like cheese and yogurt, because these are hard to digest. Drinking water throughout the day in the spring is very important. Drinking about 8 cups of pure hot water throughout the day will help to melt toxins and facilitate their flow out of the body. Avoiding cold foods and drinks, as these interfere with digestion and create more toxins. Very important in the springtime is reducing things like ice cream, ice cold drinks, anything that's cold and freezes the digestion, we're going to want to avoid. So a week of the ama reducing diet is a nice way to transition to spring. And I'll share with you this ama reducing diet, and I'll also send you a PDF of it. Just a week of this can really reset the body. Sometimes it's nice to also use triphala or other herbal substances to begin to remove more toxins from the body. But this is really dependent upon the particular person and their needs. So this is an ama reducing diet, and we really usually give it for 1 or 2 weeks just to reset the digestion. And really this is for if there is too much ama. Now, I don't tend to have a lot of metabolic waste even in the springtime. And so this diet is going to be too light for me. It's going to create more vata, more wind and air in the body. And so I might do a light diet in the springtime, but I would modify it a bit for my own personal imbalances. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. But generally, most people can use a week of ama reducing in the springtime. So grains include barley, like a soup or crackers, unleavened bread, rye, oats, millet, wheat, and only preparations made from very finely ground whole wheat flour, like crackers, light toasted bread, unleavened bread, like chapati. And don't just buy like a packaged kind of unleavened bread or naan or something, because it has a lot of other stuff in it. But tortillas can be useful during ama reducing diet, especially if they just have like 2 ingredients in them, or if you can make your own tortillas, that would be the best. Couscous, semolina, basmati white rice, because it's very easy to digest. Then dal and beans would be yellow mung beans, which have the husks removed. And actually, At One Yoga is the only place in Mendocino where you can buy yellow mung beans, but you can buy these online from Banyan Botanicals. They have good organic yellow mung beans. They're hard a bit to get. Then red lentils, which is masur dal. Those can easily be acquired and are very good for cleansing. Vegetables include well-cooked, slightly juicy in preparation, green leafy vegetables, such as any green leafy vegetables like kale, those types of things. And then white pumpkin is very detoxifying. Asparagus, artichoke, cabbage, zucchini, celery, carrot, spinach, tender eggplant, better if you can remove the skin, tender white radish, and green papaya are really the best vegetables during a 1-week cleanse. Dairy products can include low-fat milk, goat milk, buttermilk, lassi, which is yogurt diluted and mixed with spices. So this is not the Indian grocery store mango sweet lassi. That's almost like ice cream. Ghee in very small amounts. Then oil, very small amounts in cooking, and avoiding coconut oil because we're really reducing fat, because fat is very heavy, it's very kapha. And I'll be sure that you get this PDF of an ama reducing diet when I send out the replay of this video. So check your email for that. Honey in small amounts. But honey should never be cooked and shouldn't be heated. Shouldn't be actually heated. You can put it in hot water, but it shouldn't be heated or cooked. As in Ayurveda, it's considered to be one of the major toxins that you can take is heated honey. It's considered to become absolutely indigestible and really almost like a poison to the body. All spices except for salt. We don't want to have a lot of salt in the springtime because what does salt do? It makes us retain water. It makes us retain heaviness, and we're trying to reduce congestion and heaviness in the spring. Increasing especially pungent and sharp spices like pepper and ginger, and then lemon juice, to the sour taste, to increase our digestive fire. Fruits, that which is ripe and in season is best. Grapes or raisins, which are soaked and chewed well because we don't want anything too dry. Pomegranate, papaya in small amounts, fig, apple, guava, all are especially good. And then other fruits if ripe and in season, but we really want to avoid mangoes and banana because they are too heavy to take during the springtime. Now, go ahead and put in the chat or in the Q&A box if there are any questions about what I've talked about so far in terms of a springtime diet, a springtime routine. And then I will talk a bit more about some other springtime, very simple cleansing practices that we can do as part of our dinacharya or daily routine. So please let me know if you have any questions at all coming up with what I've been talking about for you personally or in general. Now, a wonderful thing that we should do or can do in spring is increasing the steam, using steam to steam the body. We can start out during the spring with some dry saunas, and then as we move later into the spring, we might want to use some more moist saunas as things become drier outside. And one thing that we can do that's really wonderful for the nasal passages, for allergies, for clearing out the sinuses and the eyes, is a steam bath for the nasal passages. So in this, we put just a few drops of eucalyptus essential oil in a big bowl of hot water, and then use a couple of bags of chamomile tea. And the chamomile tea is there because it's very soothing to the nasal passages and to the eyes. So you're going to make this tea essentially in a big bowl, and then you'll make sure it's not too hot. You don't want to hurt yourself, but nice and warm. Put your head over the bowl, put a towel over the head, and steam the sinuses, the eyes, with the eucalyptus oil and chamomile tea bags. And this can be done several times throughout the spring. It doesn't have to be done daily. If there are acute allergies or sinus infections or mucus or other congestion through the nasal passages, then you could do it every day or several times, even a couple of times a day. So this is a really wonderful practice for springtime detoxification. Another springtime practice, which can be very, very useful, is something that we call in Ayurveda Garshana. Now, Garshana is a particular type of massage. It's Ayurvedic dry massaging. But, oftentimes people use a dry brush, and that's pretty rough for the skin. In Ayurveda, we use something called a Garshana, and Garshana are a type of raw silk gloves. You can purchase them online. Maharishi Ayurvedic Products International carries them. They aren't terribly expensive, but they're raw silk gloves, and you put them on the hands, and then you massage back up towards the heart, and you kind of squeeze the skin as you move the lymphatic system back up towards the chest, towards the heart, around the heart. You do the entire body back towards the heart. Skip the nipples. You don't want to do the nipples, and you don't want to do the face. The tissue is too fragile. But you can do the sides of the neck, the armpits, especially to help lymphatic flow. And you do this whole massage, and it's slightly frictive around the buttocks, and then you can take a hot shower or do oil massage and then take a hot shower. The oil massage and the Garshana are done separately. So first you do a Garshana massage and then take off the gloves and you do an oil massage and take a shower. And this really promotes lymphatic flow. It really helps to drain the lymph system and really brightens the skin. It really reduces, it is thought, or Ayurvedically we consider it too, I don't have hard evidence about this, but it is Ayurvedically considered to reduce cellulite and other inflammation and stagnation. So Garshana is a wonderful practice throughout the springtime to keep the lymph system flowing. So go ahead and use the chat box for a minute. Let's interact a bit and just let me know which of these practices, if any, is really speaking to you. What springtime practices are feeling interesting or useful to you? Let's see. Nasya. Yeah, Nasya is a really important springtime practice, and I can't tell you how many people with chronic spring allergies I've suggested the use of Nasya, and as long as they really do it several times throughout the day, really all the allergies will dissipate and go away. So Nasya is a wonderful practice. It also clarifies the eyes, the senses, and really helps with mucus. Steam bath and Nasya oil, beautiful. Yes, the steaming for the sinuses is very, very helpful for mucus and congestion, and especially for reducing, for like sinus infections or other clogged mucousy inflammation. Other inspirations of things that you can do to help in the springtime move toxins out and get into more balance. So also don't forget increasing nettle tea and dandelion tea can be really helpful. And I do really recommend a week of ama reducing diet and or an entire 4-week cleanse to remove metabolic waste from the body. It's going to be very important as we transition through spring and into summer. You'll feel so much better. So is anyone feeling the effects of spring? Any congestion, any mucus, any headache, any sluggishness, any feelings of tiredness? Go ahead and post in the block. Yes, I am. Great. And so really doing a light diet for a week combined with Nasya oil. And the Nasya, you really, often in Ayurveda, it's given like once a day. But if there's anything acute going on in the sinuses, eyes, nostrils, we'll really have to do it several times throughout the day, especially if you're working outside or working with animals. It's going to be important to do it whenever you feel that the nasal passages are dry. Now, many Ayurvedic practitioners, doctors recommend neti pot, the pouring of salted water through the nostrils. And I am not the biggest fan of neti. And the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of neti, and perhaps this is heresy to some, I am in the cases of like very clogged nostrils or clogged sinuses. It can be useful, especially with some steams, just to get things flowing again. But neti is like a colonic for your nostrils. in that you're taking something that is naturally mucus. Your nose should be wet inside. It is a mucus membrane, and you're drying it out with a great deal of salt and water. You are cleaning it out and purgating it. And the problem with this is it can create more dryness, which then creates more mucus. And so you can get into a cycle of mucus and dryness and back and forth and back and forth. And so I have seen in my practice that Nassia oil is much more useful for sinus infections, for springtime, for mucus than is a neti pot like that. How about green juice? Green juice is very fad friendly. Many people take green juices, and really they can be very useful in the springtime. So think about nature and what it's offering you. But it is very important to include ginger in the green juice, because this will keep the digestive fire strong. If it's just a bunch of greens, it's not going to keep the digestive fire strong enough. And I really recommend green juice with really out anything else in it. It's just greens and some ginger, maybe a tiny bit of turmeric, because oftentimes I see people making juices or smoothies, which is two separate things, with tons of weird stuff in it, like almond butter and a head of lettuce and yogurt and then some protein powder and then some chia seeds and then like too much stuff, and it becomes this slurry which is indigestible. It's too much information for the body to cope with at one time. So just juicing greens, carrots, radishes, other things like this with some ginger to take as a juice maybe once a day in the morning can be very useful in the springtime, especially if you're taking a light detoxifying diet to purify the digestive tract. Great. Go ahead and post any other questions you have about springtime health, maintaining springtime health, spring and Ayurveda, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about that. Or any comments also, please post. And you can also post how you're feeling on this full moon, Ostara springtime day. The goddess Ostara is one of the goddess of spring, and her totem is the hare. And really this is the Anglo-Saxon Teutonic goddess of spring and rebirth and the dawn, this potent symbol of fertility. So this is this quickening, this rebirth, and it is quite natural that we cleanse so that we have our rebirth into springtime. And this is really what nature is asking us to do, is to slough off. We've dived into the darkness of winter, into those toxins, into the deepest parts of the self. And now we get to slough off that darkness, release that darkness, having processed it, and move into the spring clear in ourselves, to be really reborn in the springtime and into the eternity of summertime, because summer does feel endless until it ends. So back at Imbolc, the precipice right between winter and spring is the time when we planted the seeds within. And now we are blossoming, those tiny shoots budding open. But just as the earth needs to be clean, we need to cleanse ourselves so that we can open out like a flower, dazzling with brilliant color and beauty. Favorite time of year, feel energy, looking forward to kick some of the sluggish stuff. Awesome, good. A 1 week clean diet might be a good suggestion. Then some nasal oil, some steams, and move into spring feeling clear and feeling revitalized and feeling ready. Because really, the spring can go two ways. We can get really mired in sickness, colds, coughs, ongoing allergies, or we can really expand into spring if the soil is clean and fertile like that. Good. Any other questions, comments, anything else. Oh, wonderful. So, my friends, I will close here. I hope this has inspired you about simple ways that you can move through spring, um, sloughing off the sluggish energy of kapha and really radiating into the spring beautifully. And so, let me know if there's any questions or if I can serve you. I'll be sending this out as a replay, but thank you, friends, from all different corners for joining today. Very much love to you, and namaste.